Good day, gamers. Here's a Game Master Dave saw instead of Game Master Dave plays, even though that's what the title is on the screen. Anyway, I just saw Napoleon at a local AMC theater with some friends. They told me now, I'm a big gamer, right? I'm a big board gamer. I'm a big strategy gamer. I'm a big war gamer. Strangely enough, I saw that some of the critics had mixed reviews about Napoleon by Ridley Scott. And so I wasn't going to go see it. I had made the decision not to go see it. And now there's a fly in my face. I can't believe we don't have any flies in this house. And there's a little, it's more of a gnat that's in my face. All right. The thing is that I normally don't. I normally would not miss a war movie. Got to go see it on the big screen. All the classical war movies I've seen on the big screen, usually in its release week. And this one, I was just like, whatever. And so I told my friends that it didn't get the best reviews. Sorry, I'm just looking around for my screen there. Great. Okay, looks like volumes are good. And I was not gonna see it. I decided that I wasn't gonna see it. Wasn't going to spend the money and probably be disappointed. And so they said, but Dave, don't listen to what the critics are. You're going for entertainment purposes. And I did. I made the decision to go. I want to thank my friends that asked me to go because actually I did enjoy it. I really enjoyed it. There are some key features that I would like to talk about that I enjoyed. And then I'll talk about a key feature that I disliked intensely. I have mixed reviews too. But do I suggest you see it? If you're not a military historian, go see it. Really, it's a movie about the interplay between Josephine and Napoleon. And I can't say I know as much about that because I know more about the military history, specifically the Battle of Waterloo. I could give you a 1 hour lecture on the Battle of Waterloo right now without any preparation. So, the other battles, believe it or not, I don't know as well as I would like. And I was looking up some of them this afternoon to check them out. Now, before I went to go see the movie, I watched Oversimplified Napoleon History or whatever the title is, and that was really good. By the way, this movie that we are talking about, I brought up the Wikipedia for it. It's directed by Ridley Scott, written by David Scarpa, produced by Ridley Scott and a whole bunch of other people. Oh, it's also produced by Joaquin Phoenix, right? Oh my gosh, everybody's going to kill me for pronouncing that completely wrong. And he was the main star. He played Napoleon. But it's a long movie, 157 minutes. It looks like it cost about 130 to 200 million dollars to make as an estimate. And so far, as of December 1st, it only brought in $86 million. So I guess it's considered a flop, I guess. But anyway, I will tell you that if you're not a historian and you're at least interested in Napoleon just the tiniest bit, or that period of history, you should go see it. I think that you will. I think that you will enjoy it. Now I got to try to get back to where I'm at. Okay, here we go. So so here's the thing that I really liked. It's not a love story, but it is about the couple of them and their interplay and how they work together and how they affect each other. Certainly, in the backdrop is the lead up to how Napoleon, was recognized in France, and then it was about how he gained power. Certainly, the military battles are represented, and a lot of infantry running around, a lot of cannon, a lot of cavalry charges, and some of the planning and stuff like that involved in that. But really, it's more about politics, the relationship between Josephine and Napoleon. By the way, spoilers. I forgot. I should have said spoilers, spoilers, spoilers. It's a curious film to me, and here is the things that I think were done so well indeed. First of all, the costuming I think is fantastic. I would not be surprised if they get nominated for an Academy Award for costuming. And then set direction, sets. If there's an Academy Award for sets, which I don't know if there is, because sometimes they just breeze over those ones. Everybody's more interested in best supporting actor and best actress or whatever. The sets were fantastic. I could talk about 20 different things that I thought were really good. The camp, the inside the military camp tent had all of the correct things: the inkwells, the maps, the books, the travel desk, the travel cot. I thought that was really wild. Then you have, of course, here you have Napoleon. Here you have the French Revolution, and they kicked out the monarchy. And then, you have the directorate, and of course, all of them live opulent lives, in these beautifully decorated houses and chateaus and things. And then, of course, Napoleon is very opulent with his uniforms and outfits when he's at the head of state, and other people, the British and the Prussians and the Russians, of course, are even more opulent with their outfits and things like that. And then one of the scenes that I have is they're always eating at dinner, which is, you got to eat, 1, 2, 3 times a day at that time period. Obviously they had money, so they had big full dining room sets with candelabras and, all the different silverware and glasses and flowers. And then the other thing is one time I noticed that one of the guys that were talking to at the table reached for a piece of bread, and he lifted a napkin, and underneath the napkin was the bread, and he grabbed a piece of bread and then put the napkin back. And I'm like, that is so amazing to me. Like, who was the set decorator? Who knew that? You covered your bread or food sometimes, to keep the flies away, or to protect it from, I guess we sort of do the same thing too. We have I think in modern age, we don't have that many bread baskets anymore, but, you'd have a bread basket on the table, and you'd have the bread wrapped up in a napkin, and that's how I grew up as a child, and the bread was served with a napkin around it. But, somebody thought of that, or something. And I was just impressed, really impressed with that kind of stuff. The relationship between Josephine and Napoleon, you might have heard rumors about what it was about. And certainly there was some really weird, obviously there's some interpretation in how they reacted to each other. But I still think that it was pretty decent. It showed that both of them were vulnerable, both of them were strong, both of them had a history. Both of them were doing things that were good and doing things that were not so good. Relationships are complicated. I mean, who hasn't been in a complicated relationship? So I thought that was done pretty well, actually. So anyway, I enjoyed it. I did enjoy it, and I suggest you see it. Now, if you're a military historian, you're not going just close your eyes during the Battle of Waterloo. All right, just if you're watching it on streaming in the future, just fast forward through the Battle of Waterloo. You know what happened at the Battle of Waterloo. It is not portrayed that well in the movie. They do have the Prussians coming on the flank. Okay, that's good. They do have that Napoleon committed his infantry first and then committed his cavalry second. After an artillery barrage, they open with the artillery barrage, and then they open with the infantry, and then they add the cavalry, and then late in the afternoon, the Imperial Guard goes into an attack because they have in the movie a second wave of infantry. Okay, that's it. So, and then it seemed like Napoleon's forces were in the middle of battle and struggling, and the British then formed some square when the French cavalry came, and there was pressure that the Prussians were coming in on the side, and then the British and the Prussians did a general advance once the French start to withdraw. Okay, that's it. They did cover those points, but everything else is like a Hollywood craziness. The one part of the military stuff that I actually caught and was fantastic was when the cannons fire, they recoil back. Most movies that I have ever seen, even up to like World War II movies and stuff like that, the cannons fire and there's no recoil. I mean, Newton's law of physics, right? Something gets pushed out that way. There's another action, similar force going the other way. And they did do this in the movie. So they'd fire the cannons and then they would wheel the cannons back up. But oh my gosh, here is a quick list of things that drove me nuts for the Battle of Waterloo in particular. The first thing is that they didn't mention anything about Wellington's strategy of keeping most of his forces behind the ridgeline so that the French battery would not attack them, right? The second thing is the Grand Battery, Napoleon's Grand Battery, went way out in front of the infantry, set up an open field, and then did their initial volleys, and then the initial infantry assault happened, right? Then when the cavalry charge came, the French cavalry went up over the ridge and discovered the British infantry in square. In this one, they have the British advancing in front of the British position and then forming square. So, these are decisions I'm sure they had to make as filmmakers. We only have this area we can film in. We only have this amount of time. We only have whatever. I'm sure there was 1,000 decisions to make as filmmaking. I'm not a filmmaker, so I'm being very critical of the military history. But anyway, regardless. The other thing was I was like going, okay, so they're planning the strategy the day before. Cool. And they got the map out. Cool. Okay, this is looking good. And then the day battle happens, there's no talk of Papillot. There's no talk of La Haye Saint. There's no talk of Hougoumont. Hougoumont not mentioned, and none of the generals are mentioned. Ney is never mentioned. Grouchy is never mentioned. I'm a little dumbfounded at that, but I guess when you have a movie, you got to fit it in 2.5 hours. I mean, what are you gonna do? Napoleon's brother is in it, which is nice, and that's pretty good because normally Napoleon's brother is not portrayed in all the other movies I've seen, so that was pretty good. And then you have a sniper almost taking out Napoleon, but as many historians believe and have seen, Napoleon did show up on the battlefield. He did rally the troops or whatever he did. He gave a speech, but he was suffering. They showed it. They showed that he was suffering, but they didn't explain why. So a lot of people feel he was suffering from syphilis, and actually he was behind the front line. So he was a quarter mile from the front line in a tent. He spent most of the day in a tent. Most of the battle, and was giving orders from there, receiving reports and giving orders from there. That may or may not be true, but as far as I've seen the research I've done and the research I've seen, that seems to be the thing. And that is why people have wondered, why did Napoleon lose at Waterloo? He had the right army at the right time. He had he was the master of combined arms forces. When I say that, you fire the artillery, you launch the infantry, you follow up with cavalry. All three arms of the military keep supporting each other throughout the day. And what happened at Waterloo? The infantry went forward, got pushed back. The cavalry went forward, got pushed back. Why was there not a coordination? A lot of people feel that he put Marshal Ney in charge of the battle, and Marshal Ney was a cavalry commander and wanted the glory for himself, essentially. That may or may not be true. I cannot honestly tell you. I wasn't there, So anyway, but the thing that drove me also crazy about the whole thing was, they never mentioned the Imperial Guard. Not one mention of the Imperial Guard. So I'm like, even throughout the whole movie, and I'm like, oh boy, this is, as military strategy simulation people, we're always talking about the military, the Imperial Guard. When do we commit the Imperial Guard? When do we move that in? What do we have? We got the young guard, the middle guard, the old guard, so on and so forth. Anyway, and then the one thing that I thought was great, they mentioned it, and then they didn't follow up on it. It was raining. Perfect. It rained on the morning of June 1815. And then there was a time constraint. Napoleon needed to defeat the British and then turn and defeat the Prussians. But the problem is that there's only so many hours in the day, and it's raining all morning. I think the reign ended sometime 8 or 9 or 10 or something like that. And so Napoleon mentions in the movie, okay, great, the rain is stopped. We have to wait for the fields to dry out. And of course, during this time when you had black powder, musketry, and cannon, it was hard to fight in the rain. You couldn't really fight in the rain, really, because you couldn't shoot. You didn't have the powder. The powder would be exposed to the rain, and so it would get wet. But it wasn't raining now. So couldn't Napoleon just have attacked as soon as the rain ended? No, Napoleon's main tactic was the artillery. And he had to wait for the fields to be dried out a little bit by the sun. And why do you need to have the fields dried out by the sun before you lead your attack with 200 cannons opening up with the Grand Battery? And that's because one of the things that was displayed in the movie, which is unfortunate, is the mortars and the howitzers would shoot shell, not solid shot. Cannonballs were solid shot. Most of the ammunition fired out of the cannons were just a solid piece of iron shoved down the tube of the muzzle of the cannon and then fired with black powder, gunpowder. And so this cannonball would go flying off into the enemy line. Well, it travels at a huge speed. Whatever it hits, it's going to destroy. Okay? But that's not how cannonball tactics were used in this linear warfare kind of style. The idea was to actually not hit anything directly with the cannonball. Yeah, you wanted to aim properly so you can get the cannonball to the location you want, but you actually land it just in front of the troops, because then it bounces, kills a whole bunch of infantry, then continues to bounce, kills a supply wagon behind the infantry, and then bounce, hit some reserve infantry and cavalry in the back, and then bounce. So you want these cannonballs to bounce, ding, 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 and knock out multiple people along that straight line of the cannonball. So that's why you need the fields dry. Because if it's a muddy field, the cannonball just goes shunk right into the mud. And it doesn't, you might hit some people, you might hit a wagon, you might hit a couple horses, traveling until it lands in the dirt and then it's stuck. You don't want that. They don't talk about that at all. And so I feel for military people, it's going to drive them nuts a little bit. It drove me nuts, but I just said, whatever. It's entertainment, right? It's totally entertainment. Overall, I did like it. Let's see. I didn't think about this in advance. I should have thought of this because I do this in my reviews online at GameMasterGames.com. Please give us a like, follow, subscribe, comment, suggestion. Dave at GameMasterGames.com, or right there, just in the YouTube channel right there. So I would give Napoleon. Let's see. I would give Napoleon 8 treaties. 8 treaties that he signed. Okay, there's my rating system. All right. Completely unscripted. I see my curtains are all messed up over there, but and I'm also not showing you all the stuff piled on my desk behind me. So anyway, thanks for joining us. I really appreciate you checking out Game Master Dave Saw Napoleon. One of my second favorite game of all time is Waterloo by Columbia Games. So I just got a chance to play it at Fat Dog over at Legendary Realms. That was awesome. And I hope to play it again. Send me some notes if you tell me what your favorite Napoleon game is or movie, and give yourself 100 experience points. Until we meet again across the internet, keep your powder dry, your cannons ready, and your what are we going to keep strong? Keep your infantry assaults strong. Have a great night, everybody. Thank you very much.